hello, welcome to the Spartans Boxing Show. I'm Lakey, and I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr. Arv Me Too. Hello, Arv.
Hello, Lakey.
Mr. Steve joining us today. Hello, Steve. You all right?
How you doing, gents? You all right?
All good, all good. And we're very pleased to have with us two amateur boxers, Cameron Cove and Shamus Pashley. Oh, that was a mouth. Shamus Pashley, even there. I put my teeth back in today. So welcome to the show, lads. It's great to have you on. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All good, all good. And how are you, Shamus? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you.
Good. Like I say, thanks for coming on. We thought it'd be really nice to catch up with you because it's a bit of a change for the Spartans, because normally us boys, we're talking to a lot of the professional fighters, ex-fighters, people like that. But you boys are actually amateur fighters. So we thought it'd be really nice to get you on and have a chat about, how you've been coping throughout this COVID situation, because we know it's had a massive effect on amateur boxing generally, the whole COVID situation, because obviously you're not deemed to be in that elite place where the professional, you just can't have any fights at the minute, can you? So before we get into that too much, it'd be nice if we could find out a little bit about the pair of you. So if we start with Cameron, so where are you based, Cameron? Where are you at the moment?
So I'm based at the minute in Newark, which is just outside of Nottingham.
Oh, our good friend Isham Pickering's based in Newark.
Yeah, I box out of the Isham's gym, Epic Golden Gloves.
You box out of there?
Yeah, he's the main man, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
There you go. There we go. Isham helped present the show.
I was just saying to him, Lakey, we were just having a chat about it. I didn't know he boxed out of his gym. I never knew.
No. That's why when you said Newark, I thought straight away. I thought there you got to know Isham. Then Isham does help out with the show. So he's your coach at the minute, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I never knew.
Right.
Wow.
So how are you finding it? And it's that Epic Isham's gym. I mean, how's that going? The training? Are you still training there at the moment, or are you having to
Not at the moment. No. So it's pretty much just doing a lot of road work, running every day if I can after work. And doing whatever I can at home, really. But I mean, before obviously all this, and we could train, life at Epic Gym, just love it, absolutely love it. It's one big family, but like the training's it is world class training for amateurs. It is amazing, proper old school. That's how he runs his gym, old school gym.
Fantastic.
But obviously, for the people that don't know, listeners, Isham Pickering, Arv and Steve, we'll chat to Isham on a regular basis. He's a legend of British boxing.
Definitely.
Former sort of British, European, Commonwealth super bantamweight, fought for the world title, WBO world title, and in regards to his achievements in professional boxing, I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. Used to obviously train with Brendan Ingle, trained alongside the likes of Junior Witter, Prince Nassim Hamid, Johnny Nelson, from that whole Ryan Rhodes, massive, class of, what were they called back in the day, lads? It was the Spice Boys, wasn't it? That was it, back in the 90s.
That was, excuse me, boys. Ryan Rhodes, wasn't it? Ryan
Rhodes, all the Spice Boys, yeah. So, I mean, how many amateur fights have you had, Cameron?
I've only had 5 amateur fights.
Wow.
And I've been around. I mean, I've been in Isham's gym now for 4 years. After my first amateur fight, I kind of just went back to doing what I was doing, and then only recently, in the past year, that I've just got a sudden rush for it and got straight back into it and had as many fights as possible. But as I always say, even though I've only had 5 amateur fights, I'm always training for constantly as if I was fighting all the time. But it's come at such a bad time. As I've become so active and had as many fights as possible, obviously then COVID came along and ruined it.
Yeah.
How old are you, Cameron?
I'm 22.
22. So obviously a quite sort of limited number of amateur fights, and you've been a little bit more regular in the last sort of period that you discussed. But what's your plans moving forward? Are you looking to get once COVID relaxes some more amateur fights, and then maybe look at going pro, or is that not in your mindset?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely. I mean, it's been in my mindset since I think the first fight. I've always said to my mum, my partner, it's always said the dream is to be pro. And although I had that time off, I think me and Isham have the conversation daily, if not weekly, that we're going to get, as soon as we can, going to get as many fights in as possible, a couple more amateur fights in, just to tweak these little things up and then hopefully turn over pro soon.
I mean, I was going to say, Cameron. I mean, your intentions are your intentions to sort of fight for any sort of amateur titles, even to go into the novice ABAs, maybe, and try and win anything like that, or is your intentions just to have a sort of 2 or 3 more amateur fights and turn over?
No. So we went to the I think from what I can remember, went to the Belt River show. It was up in Nottingham, wasn't it? And I turned around to Isham after we had 2 lads boxing on that show, and I turned around to Isham after in the changing room and says, I want one of them. I want to get a belt, or I want to achieve something in the amateurs before I go and do turn over. But the goal is to definitely gain a title in the amateurs.
How do you feel in the company of Isham? Because obviously there's quite a bit of a status there with Isham. He's quite a humble man, obviously, but you know, for me, like, you know, we've only just sort of kind of dabbled in this, and even like for example, with me, I'm kind of in awe of the fact that I'm around a guy and he's a friend now, and Isham, obviously, you know, similar sort of scenario. Amazing guy, knows his stuff, and like you say, hit it on the nail with old school.
So I say to a couple of lads at work that ask who I've trained with and whatnot. I always say I've been there 4 years and I've known him about 6 years, and I can still turn around and say that I can't believe that that's my trainer, that's my coach, that's the person that is teaching me these things that he's learned. It's still now it's shocking, to be fair. Like, I can't believe it sometimes, but yeah, no, there's no better man I'd rather be with.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, you're in the right company with someone like Isham. That's an absolute certainty. The knowledge that the man has got, and you know, how he carries himself as well. He's an incredible guy. You know, like I said, I mean, when we kind of interact as well away from Sportinarium and we're talking as a group, you know, it's a privilege to be part of that. To be fair,
yeah, he teaches me a lot in the gym, and then outside the gym, as you say, he's a very humble man. He will drop me a text to see how I'm doing, making sure that I'm staying on track. He's humble in all aspects, 100%.
I mean, Cameron, you know what? I have to say that, you know, I've known him for a very, very long time, and you know what? He's never changed. And even when he had them titles around his waist, he was always the same guy. Because when I was on the circuit myself, and I was with him, he was no different. And that's when he was like sort of famous, if you know what I mean. He was up there, and you'd see him all around the telly and stuff, and he was always the same as he is now, and he's never changed, and I respect that.
Cameron, I was going to say that the five fights that you had, what's your record? Have you won every single one, or?
No. So it's a pretty even record, to be fair. I've had 3 wins and 2 losses, and I won my first 2, and then I lost 2, and then I came back my last one to win. But then I did have one just before my last win, but it ended up being a no contest due to a bit of crowd trouble. So, I mean, it's not the best record in the world, but it's the amateurs, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's not all about having that perfect record. It's getting the experience.
Records don't matter anyway.
That's the vital part.
Yeah. Sorry, lads, my camera's gone off. There was something there, but records don't matter anyway. I mean, like I'm sure Isham would say to you, like you've just hit the nail on the head there. It's all about getting in the ring, getting that experience, getting those fights, you know, and building for the future. And you're going to learn as you go along. And I suppose with the amateurs as well, you wear bigger gloves. Do you wear head guard? They don't. Do you have to wear the head guards anymore?
No. So from my first fight, I think my first fight was at 18. To be fair, so I've never wore a head guard, which I'm thankful for. To be fair,
yeah,
they irritate the life out of me.
Yeah,
Cameron,
yeah.
What do you normally fight? Are you still on this? Are you on the 3-2s or 4-2s or 3-3s?
No, I'm still on the 3-2s.
You're on 3-2s, and do you opt to go up to sort of 3-3s? Have a few at 3-3s you up to?
I mean, hopefully, yeah, because like we're in the gym and we work hard for it. I mean, we do a lot of rounds, we do a lot of cardio. So I mean, I'd like to test myself doing 3-3s to see if I can. Because even 3-2s, you get to that last round, and you think, oh, well, no, I'd definitely like to get into 3-3s.
Yeah, I understand that. You know, see if it suits you, because sometimes the 3-2s it's not long enough, and it might suit you better if you were doing.
You feel quite rushed in the 3-2s. To be fair, like you have to get everything done there and then. You don't have time to kind of sit back and work, do you?
Yes, I understand.
Full on. And so, Shamus, you're with us as well, young man. Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Good, we're good. And similar sort of question to you as Cameron, really. You know, it's lovely to have two amateur fighters on the show because, like I say, it's nice to get a different perspective on the fight game, you know. And so, same to you, mate. I mean, we were talking off air. You were saying, obviously, your last fight was it November 2019?
Yeah.
And how many amateur fights did you have previous to obviously COVID putting a spanner in the works for you?
I've only had 3 fights.
Three. And is that the same as Cameron, sort of 3-2s or?
Yeah, 3 2-minute rounds.
3-2. And where do you train out of?
I train out of A-Rock Boxing Academy, and that's in Chesterfield.
Wow, okay. And you boys, I take it you haven't crossed paths yet in an amateur ring, or do you know? Are you familiar with each? You don't know. I thought I'd better check because you never talking about wins and losses in amateurs. Maybe you two have faced off. You never know, do you? With the amateur game, you know. So, I mean, how are you finding everything? I mean, obviously, 2019. That's, you know, you're going back quite a way now since you've had a fight. Are you training? Are you still doing like Cameron? You're doing a lot of road work. Obviously, you can't get in the gym to train because the amateurs aren't allowed. Hopefully that will change soon, but you know, so how are you keeping yourself sort of motivated?
Yeah, I've been sticking to my fitness routine because at the start of the very first lockdown, I decided to like do sort of a training camp for myself because I had the time to dedicate it. So I stuck to a routine and I managed to lose a stone, and then I've just kept this same routine, and like it's altered with not going to the boxing gym, but instead I've just been doing some boxing in my shed and just like been training and just keeping to my routine, doing a lot of running, and then like doing pads with my dad, stuff like that.
Right. And I mean, how old are you, Shamus? I mean, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I'm 17.
Wow. There you go, lads. See, now I feel really old. I've got a 22-year-old and a 17-year-old. I'll say I feel ancient now. And boxing previous, so you've had the 3 fights. I mean, so how did boxing find you, or how did you find boxing? What happened there?
Well, I wanted to join just to get a bit fit and like learn how to defend myself. So I first stepped into the gym 2 years ago, just for them reasons. And then after a couple of weeks, I started like doing the pads and that, and then my coach Richard Hopkinson said, you know, do you want to box for amateurs? And I said, yeah, if I'm good enough.
Yeah.
So we kept like doing more sparring and more pads, and then within 8 months, I had my first fight.
Wow. And how was your record? Obviously, 3 fights, both of you. You know, neither of you had a massive amount of fights, but how's your record?
I lost my first fight on a split decision, and then I've won 2 by unanimous decision.
Perfect. That's the other thing with amateurs for both of you here. I mean, punching, you don't get a lot of knockouts like you do in the pros because the gloves are bigger, like we were saying, you know, so you don't get as many knockouts. So, I mean, style-wise, you're both quite early on in your amateur careers, but do you class yourselves as heavy punchers, or have you had your heavy punchers that have had to adapt a style to boxing your way through these fights now? Because obviously it's difficult to get that KO, and the amount of time you've got, you can't make a fast. You can't take you have to make a fast start. Sorry, is what I was trying to say. Is it a similar kind of thing from both of your views on that?
I feel like I haven't boxed 100% to my potential, but I think that's because of the experience of first getting into the rings and the nerves. So I've just started to get used to that. But I do hope to have a few like TKOs and knockouts further along my career.
Yeah.
Are you wearing the head guards? Are you, Shamus? Because are you wearing the head guards? Because it's different for everybody. You know, you may start with head guards, you may not, and then it's all changing out, isn't it? Where you have these elite fighters and they never wear them. But
is it because of your age, though? Is it like because you're 17, I suppose, until you get to 18, that's when the head guard can come off? Like, because Cameron's 22, that little bit older, hence why you'll probably fight without the head guard, Cameron. But for Shamus, because you're 17, you can keep that head guard on. When are you 18, young mate? When's your birthday?
I'm 18 in September.
Oh, blimey. So you haven't actually got that long to wait then, have you? So, you know, by then, hopefully, you know, have they given you any indications, the pair of you, about when maybe you can start looking at returning to the gym, or are you still sort of, because obviously the restrictions are being eased gradually. are you kind of hoping it's going to be seen that you can get? I expect you're desperate to get back into the gym and get back into it.
I want to be
sorry, go on.
possible.
Go for it, Cameron. Score, mate. What were you going to say?
I mean, from what I've heard, but we speak about it quite a lot on the plan and whatnot. Obviously, you listen to the guidelines, but from what I've heard from Isham, obviously, I don't know, because I keep getting my hopes up, but they keep getting crushed. So I don't know whether to listen anymore.
Yeah, it's
it must be horrible.
I was going to say that's quite an interesting point you just made there, Cameron. I mean, I'm just going to go off piece slightly with both of you. I'm interested to understand how. I mean, it's been hard for many a fighter, especially in the boxing world. But on the mental side, how has that affected both of you? You know, have you found it really hard to be motivated? Have you sort of had quite a range of lows and stuff in the way that you've been feeling?
To be fair, last year, I think just a couple months before Christmas, well, up to Christmas, is when I was probably at the lowest. And I thought, do you know what? Just after I turned 22, I was like, I feel like I've lost it completely. I wasn't training, wasn't going running, wasn't doing anything, wasn't watching what I eat. And I thought there's no way that the gyms will be opened up and I won't be continuing in boxing. And I said to my partner, I think I'm done. I don't think I will be putting the boxing gloves on again. But then just after Christmas, I was like, do you know what? No. And then just got back into everything, got back into my fitness, got back into my diets. And I said to the lads that worked with everyone, so I'm determined to carry on what I'm doing. And ever since then, that's it. I've not stopped.
What about yourself, Shamus?
When lockdown first happened, I was really motivated, to be fair, because I started losing weight and seeing my body like transform. So then I was really happy with the results I was seeing. So I kept doing that. And then when we did get to like kind of go back to the boxing gyms for a bit, I felt a lot better on the bag and like, if you know what I mean. But then now the second lockdown's come, it's a bit like, well, I don't really get to prove, you know, new skills I've built and that, and you kind of like just your career's on hold. So it's a bit frustrating, but hopefully it just gets back to normal very soon.
Bit hard to keep yourself motivated, isn't it, Shamus, a bit without the gym being open, eh?
Yeah, it's a bit. Plus, I kind of like knowing that, you know, you've got to train, and like if you ever feel like you don't want to do it, you've got to think like your opponent will be doing it.
Yeah. That's
a good way to think about it, to be honest with you, because I'm pretty sure, you know, the way things are going, you know, that hopefully by September, by the time, you know, obviously Shamus you turn 18, you know, hopefully you'll be, a pair of you will be both, you know, back in the gym and training, hopefully with a view to getting onto some talk, you know, into some shows really. I mean at the minute, Shamus, are you at college at the moment? Is that where you're at? And obviously
I've just started an apprenticeship with Finning Caterpillar.
Right. So you've got to juggle that with obviously training as well. And you, Cameron, same. I mean, you say you're working. I mean, are you doing full-time work as well at the minute? Is that kind of?
Yeah. No, I'm on every day, Monday to Saturday, doing 10-hour shifts. So it's like I come home and I've just got to kick myself to get that 2-hour training out of the way, and then I can chill. So it is tough.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, trying to work, and then when you do get back in the gym, so I tip my hat to you both, you know, keeping yourselves in shape, and you know, like you said, like Steve and both Harvard said, motivation wise, it must be really difficult, you know, as a professional. If you're a professional fighter, you know, and you had fights lined up, that would be the motivation, I guess, to do the training for you lads at the moment. It must be like just trying to sort of keep that positive mindset and think, well, hopefully come the summer, you know, you're going to be back in the ring and hopefully getting some fights, you know.
Shamus, you mentioned your dad's been a big support to you, so he's been helping you train and stuff. What have you been doing a lot of pad work with him, or bag work, or anything like that, or has he come out and physically done the training with you?
My dad's done a lot of pad work with me in the house, and then we've done some like footwork drills. But when I do my training, I normally do that on my own. I do a lot of running on my own, but my dad comes running with me as well.
Oh, that's good. What about yourself, Cameron? Have you had anyone support you with any training, or have you had to just literally come in from work and go out straight away effectively?
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Soon as I come back from work, it's straight out, because I'm the only child at home, so to say. So it's like I come home and I have to get in the mindset to do it for myself. As my mum and stepdad not really involved or with boxing or anything like that, it is genuinely just coming in, either going out for a run or going into the garage onto the bag for an hour.
I mean, do you do a lot of running? Do you, Cameron? I do.
It's one of the things that Isham swears by. He says to me, running is so important. He says that's all he asked. A lot that he asked me throughout this lockdown has been, I just want you to run. I want you to do this and I want you to do that. But road work has been a massive ask from Isham.
What sort of miles do you do? Sort of 3 or 4?
So I normally, if I come home from work and I'm feeling genuinely like I've got the energy to go, I'll push myself to do at least 6.5 miles. But okay. The minimum I'll go is 4 miles.
4 miles. Shamus, what about yourself? How sort of many miles do you go when you normally run?
I do 5k runs, and I do them about twice a week.
Okay.
And then I keep trying to beat my times, and that's what I've just been doing, is keep aiming to beat my times. So that's what I've been doing.
Absolutely brilliant.
Personal targets, best bet, isn't it? It's all you can do, I guess, at the moment for the pair of you. Set yourself a personal target and beat that, and then that should be that's the motivation, I guess, right there, isn't it? I
always say, when there's no gyms opening, this probably the best thing for you to do is running. It keeps you in good stead for when you get back in the ring and you fight.
Yeah, definitely. And how did you guys? I mean, obviously, you were Chris Boyle got us onto you, lads, which was very kind of him. How did the association come around with Chris for the pair? Maybe it's Cameron first, so we don't, confuse everyone.
I met Chris it was 2017, which was, I was just saying earlier. My first fight was with one of his lads, Ben Gore. That was my first amateur bout.
Yeah,
and then I've seen him around. I've been down to spar. Lads have been down to spar, and I've met him at a couple more shows after that.
Wow. And how about you, Shamus? How did that come around with Chris with you? Same similar sort of thing, or?
Yeah, well, my coach knows him, and then we went up to spar at his gym in February 2020.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Good little gym he's got out there. The Xbox, isn't it? Fight Academy. Yeah. That's good. Got some good fighters in there as well. Some real good fighters. We've spoken to, is it Ellie Coulson? We've spoken to Ellie, Holly Towell, obviously Nicola Hopewell. There's quite a few in there. He's got a few new. Becky Ferguson, I think, is another one he's got up there now at the minute. So it's definitely an expanding gym. So I mean, in closing, then, chaps. I mean, if we go to Cameron first, are you hoping to turn professional eventually? Is that the end goal for you? You wanted to get into the professional ranks?
Yeah, well, it's always been on the mind. Like I was saying earlier, a few more amateur fights as soon as it starts up again. Get as active as possible. Tweak a few things. Work on the footwork a little bit more, and then hopefully turn over to amateur. It's definitely the plan. Turn over to pro, sorry.
Yeah, we knew what you meant. Don't worry. And obviously with Isham, I mean, you've got a world-class coach. I mean, you couldn't ask for better experience and knowledge when that happens. And the only advice I would get, I mean, Arv would probably say the same. Stick with. Arv would probably take the words out, but stick with what you know. I think is the rule of thumb there with that one, isn't it, Arv?
100%. I totally agree. Just stick with what you know.
Yeah, and Isham is the man to know for sure.
The man to be with.
He definitely is. You couldn't get a wiser.
You can't see his achievement speaks for itself. What more can I say? So.
Yeah,
he's a good lad. And for you, Shamus, I mean, you're very young, 17. Not 18 September. So for you, are you thinking similar along those lines? You want to build up your amateur, maybe get some sort of amateur titles under your belt, like ABAs, and then look to go in professional as well, or?
Yeah, I want to get a good amateur pedigree and get a lot of experience in the amateurs. I want to compete in like the box cup and like win some titles. But then I want to go pro as well and make it to the top. That's what I want to do.
Brilliant. And I'm sure you both like that. Yeah, I'm sure you both will. Well, you both seem very confident young men, and like I say, you both sound like you've got, great backers behind you, great coaches, you've got your support of your friends and family. So I can't see anything but good stuff happening for you, chaps. And I mean, before we go, I mean, I'll ask everybody this, so I'll go to Cameron first. If Anthony Joshua was to fight Tyson Fury, who would you see winning that fight?
Anthony Joshua all day, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. So
I think it'll be. It won't be as easy, but I think it's an AJ win.
Good man. See, Arv's the other way. But we'll ask before we come to Arv. Shamus, what's your thoughts on that? Who do you think would win that one?
I think Anthony Joshua as well. Everyone I've ever talked to about subjects always said Tyson Fury, so I always feel a bit awkward saying Anthony Joshua, but I just think he will, and I've always thought he will.
Guys, I have to say, I do say that, but not an easy win. It will be a very difficult one, but I will probably go.
Be an easy win, Arv. I'm telling you, mate. I reckon I've got AJ by about round 9. I think he'll over.
There will be a stoppage win, I think.
Yeah, I think
aside of AJ Fury, I've got one last question for you. If you could name one fight this year in any division that you'd love to see happen, who would it be?
Oh, good one. Do you know what I'd love to see from watching the last fight, and a lot of people wouldn't say it because they probably haven't seen it. I would like to see Ruiz and Parker fight again. 100% love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Have you seen Ruiz lately? He's been doing a lot of leg work.
I know.
His legs look big, don't they?
Yeah. Actually, guys, I got one more question. Billy Joe Saunders or what's the Mexican name?
Canelo.
Who are you going for? Who you got?
It'll be a stoppage win for Canelo that night. I think it'll be a lot easier than people think.
What about you, Shamus?
I think it'll be Canelo as well.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I know people are saying Billy Joe Saunders is great, but I'll be honest. I think the best days of. I think he's wasted the best days of his career. I think he's too late now. I think he wasted too long. He wasted too much time. I think doing the things he's been doing, a lot of opportunities passed him by. And I think by the time Canelo's class, mate, he's about head and shoulders above anyone or anything at the minute. So I just can't see anything but a Canelo win.
Definitely in his prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree, guys. Inactivity can be a big problem. So,
and I don't think Billy Joe Saunders, he hasn't. Who's he fought really? A bit Chris Eubank Jr., which was a bit to and fro. I mean, and then he had who was the Canadian guy that he beat?
David Lemieux.
That's it. Lemieux. That was a long time ago now. If you think about it in the grand. And who since then has he fought anyone world class since then?
No.
I can't think of it.
Is it Murray boxed?
Yeah, but Murray was well past wasn't he?
He's been far more concerned about the O. That's all it's about for him. And Frank Warren, unfortunately, behind him is infatuated with the O always.
Yeah, but he's not with Warren anymore, mate. He's with Hearn now.
No,
but he was with Warren for too long. I agree with what you're saying there. I think it was Frank Warren for too long, and they were too preoccupied with keeping that O. Lemieux, that was a good win. Chris Eubank Jr. It was a bit back and forth that fight, but obviously BJS won it. But I think his best days are behind him now. I think he's been too inactive, and I think to going against the likes of someone like Canelo with the way he's, with the activity that Saunders is, I think I can see that doing it.
He doesn't really seem to put his all into his. He's a bit on and off, isn't he? Really, he'll either put his all into a training camp and look absolutely phenomenal, or he won't. He's a bit on and off with him, isn't he?
Yeah. Be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, of course, as a Brit, you want the Brit to win, but I just can't. I can't imagine. Can't see it. I can't visualise any form. Really can't. And Canelo's beaten some big lads now as well, isn't he? Like the Kovalevs and Callum Smith. So we shall take. Anyway, lads, it's been an absolute pleasure having you both on. Thanks for coming on and chatting to us about your amateur careers.
Top guys.
From us at Sport and Air, all we can do is wish you the best. And I'm sure you're both, once this bloody COVID situation sorts itself out and you can get back in the gym, I'm sure you'll both get to where you want to be. And we look forward to, obviously we keep in touch with Chris and we know Isham very well, Cameron. So we will keep a close eye on your careers, and hopefully that when that day arrives, when you're turning professional, we would love to get you back on and have another catch up with you. Fantastic chaps.
Yeah.
Top guys.
Best of luck, lads, and I hope you get all that you're looking to get out of the game. So, fair play, lads.
Yeah, good luck.
Top guys. Just keep training hard. Keep up the good work, both of you.
Yeah, that road work. Yeah, road work. Nice one, lads. Nice to chat to you.